Hi everyone, this is Telephony, and I am Will Montgomery, and this is for our COM 532 class at Liberty University. So telephony obviously has to do with telephones, kind of a strange word, but it's a real word. So the telephone. The telephone has become obviously an essential part of our communications since its inception in 1876. And you probably have a phone, talk on the phone, text on the phone, use the phone to order pizza, everything. It's become such an important part of our life that most people have phones. But back in 1876, it was referred to as the talking telegraph or liquid phone, and it was invented by this man right here with the beard, Alexander Graham Bell. And it kind of looked like this, which kind of looks like a wine decanter or some kind of funnel, but that's what it was. So, and then in 1885, AT&T was started, and I had no idea that their name meant American Telephone and Telegraph, mostly because I refer to them as the ones who took away my unlimited data plan. And then we have POTS, which is plain old television service. Now, that kind of started slowly. The phone became this, just strange invention, and then it became more common, and then pretty soon you were finding it in homes across America, well, across the world, obviously, but so it kind of took over slowly and surely. So let's look a little bit at the phone. As you can see in the top left-hand corner, the liquid telephone, which is what we started with, and it progressively kind of changed over the years. The one in 1880 kind of looks like the Instagram logo. And then you see the larger one in 1882, 1900, 1907. These are typical wall phones that I remember seeing in old movies. In 1919, you can see the dial telephone. You remember seeing people kind of talking to the top part and then have that little handle thing that they listened with. And then you can see the growth of the rotary phone, the little thing that you used to be able to put your finger in the numbers and slide it, and you can see that dominated for a really, really long time. In 1968, you can see the touch tone trimline. I've also heard of them referred to as slimline telephones, and those phones were around for a long time. I remember using one of those in the 90s, just a newer model. And then, of course, in 1969, you actually see a picture phone or a video phone. Now we have, FaceTime and Skype and things like that, but they were working on picture phones back then, which is pretty exciting. So, mobile or cellular phones. They were around early on. The Carter phone was actually around from 1955 to 1966, and it sold about 3,500 units. But there was some politics involved, and so growth after that kind of subsided. But then a man named Martin Cooper took a cue from Star Trek, and this is the communicator right there, and decided we need to have a cellular phone, free from wires, and that we could use. And so this is actually Mr. Cooper recently, and that is the phone he invented. It doesn't look exactly like the communicator, and apparently it was pretty heavy, and it looks heavy, but progress none the least, right? Thanks. So early 90s cellular technology took off. You may remember kind of the progression, if you were around back then, of phones and how they got smaller and lighter, and you remember IBM and Nokia. You can kind of see the progression of phones going down until we get to the iPhone, and I actually still have the middle little blue Nokia. I actually still have that one upstairs somewhere. Of course, it doesn't work at all, but I don't know why I'm keeping it. It's like nostalgic, I guess. And so cell phones, they rely on an operating system, and smartphones, they're the ones that can multitask. They're basically small computers, but they also rely on a cellular network. So basically, Sprint, AT&T, all the big giants that we hear now. If you're watching football, you see one cellular network commercial after another. But when I first started seeing cell phones is when I saw the movie Clueless, and they were walking in the hall and talking on their phones, and it was kind of absurd and a joke at the time that they were talking to each other via their phones, but actually that's kind of reality now, except they'd probably be texting and not talking to each other. So the BlackBerry and the iPhone. This is when I remember that rivalry. It was, and you probably do too. It was it was kind of heated. So BlackBerries were really popular with those in business. It was like their mini computer, even had a keyboard. Oh my goodness, they could do so much. And then the iPhone, which already had Apple already had a following, obviously because of computers, and then the iPod, and so they kind of used that and to gain early loyalty. And they also delivered, an amazing product. So those two, the rivalry was pretty heated, and that just continued. It was all about balancing, business versus entertainment. And as you know, pictures and videos are so important now because everything's reliant on pictures and videos because we have to see everything that everybody does, and cute kittens videos, we have to watch those at work. And of course, juggling performance and appearance. BlackBerry really kind of isn't one of the popular models. Apple's still going strong for the most part. But as you can see, we see newer models at the bottom. You see the Galaxy and, of course, the iPhone 6. Both those are, the competition's only continuing, and that's going to just keep going. So cell phone usage. 90% of adults have a cell phone, and 58% have a smartphone. And those numbers are from 2014 from our book. You probably know an adult who has a cell phone, but it doesn't use data, and it doesn't do much besides maybe text and call. I call those gramophones. That's probably not politically correct, but that's what I call them. So, and 58% have a smartphone. I am thinking that number has probably gone up a bunch, right? So telephones versus cellular. 98% of adults have some kind of telephone service, which means landlines or cellular, or both. Some people have both. There is a trend, though, that shows that mobile-only users is on the rise. Sorry, hamburger phone. So I don't know if that's you. We'll talk a little bit about them some more, but that is the trend. I think some of the reasons are just convenience. Some people feel like it's repetitive to have a landline and a cell phone, but I think it really just depends on the user. So networks. We all remember when 3G went to 4G. Oh my goodness. Which basically just meant that we could access the internet at a faster speed. Networks are really important just because you need a strong network in order to do anything on your phone. And so 4G is pretty much what dominates right now, but 5G is coming. My husband is an IT major, and he talks about 5G. And he actually sent me a link on a video that talks about some of the expectations of 5G, so I will share that when I post my presentation. And so it is really interesting. Now, the thing about networks is that what they say they can do and what they actually do usually differs. So while you're hearing all these wonderful things about 5G, just know that, sometimes things aren't always as nice as they seem. But we need a stronger network just because we're becoming more reliant on networks, and we're using more data. And we talked about, last week we talked about automotive and different things that are on the horizon, and we're just going to need more stronger network. So data usage is only going to grow, and more things will rely on using networks. So hopefully we'll see more cell towers that look like trees, because those are kind of fun. So here's my question: landline versus mobile. Have you given up your landline, and if so, what were your reasons? If you have not, what are some reasons for someone to keep it? So these are going to vary. There's no right or wrong answer. Everyone's going to have a different situation. But I'd just like to know, because I'm curious. So this is my resource, obviously our textbook. And here's a little fun little things that I found having to do with cell phones. Everyone remembers the cans, and now kids have cell phones. So that is just the way that it goes. So, alright, thank you guys very much.